Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, boys and girls. It's Wednesday, October the 26th, 2024. We're doing it midweek. Shout out to the gang, wherever you're tuning in from. If it's your first time, buckle up, buckle down. Where can you find these videos? On Instagram, follow me there. Subscribe on the YouTube channel so you get the full-length videos. Check out patreon.com/RobSadri if you'd like to fiscally, financially support the show. If you've been with me from the get-go, sending all the love right back to you. Again, if it's your first time, you're like, where is this? What is this? What's going on? What is this show, podcast, reality documentary slash long, perhaps the longest movie ever. But whatever. It's what it is, all over the place. If you're tuning in from Canada, Wagwan, to Mi Familia, the Syndicate, down south in the United States, further down south, as always, Mexico, further down south in Mexico, South America, hop and skip over there in Africa, Europe, Asia, it's Antarctica, the Arctic, back into New Zealand, Australia, the Caribbean islands, Jamaica, Nairobi, Finland, the Finnish people, the Swedish meatballs, over there in Portugal, over there and all over the place. You get the gist of it. You get there's so many countries out there. I can't name them all. There's like 200 of them, almost 100 and whatever. High hundreds, not the low hundred, high hundreds. Regardless, if you're underwater, if you're over water, if you are wet, if you are dry, welcome back to the show. It's Wednesday. These tits were made for. Oh, these tits are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these tits are gonna walk all over you, tits. Let's get right into it, boys and girls, ladies and gents. It is almost the end of the month. It's almost November. I think it's less than 2 weeks till erection time, to the biggest erection of all time. One of the most fantastical erections is going to be in less than 2 weeks. I'm excited. I know who I'm voting for. I don't get a vote, but whatever. I know who I'm rooting for. Oh man, it's going to be exciting. Less than 2 weeks. Boys and girls, but let's just get right into it. All over the place, no particular direction, no agenda. We'll see how it goes. But one of the most important things that I wanted to talk to you about was sucking properly, because it's one of those tasks that everybody does, but not everybody knows how to do it properly. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're all on the same boat. Relax. The captain's on the ship and steering us into somewhere. We're going somewhere. How to suck properly. How to suck, and I'm talking both men's and women's. How to suck properly. It's not an easy task. It's something that you need to probably, you shouldn't just jump into it. You should always prep. You should always, see what you're aiming to do. What are you just trying to, if I'm not talking about just like regular suck job. I'm not just talking about just a little bit of, just deep throat. That's amateur hour. I'm talking proper sucking of the peen, of the vag, because everybody loves a good sucky. So how do you go about doing a proper suck job? I'd like you to just, whatever you've learned thus far, whether it was through practice, whether it was through university, whether it was through college, whether you apprenticed somewhere, I want you to throw it all away. Whatever you learned, out the window. Useless. This is the only time you're going to actually get useful information when it comes down to actually sucking properly. All right, because there's a science to it. There's an art to sucking. We could say that. First and foremost, prepare yourself before you go out there and find somebody to suck off. Prepare yourself. Okay, a lot of times people do find the one or the ones, and they themselves are now ready to suck properly. So what I'd like you to do is stretch your lips. Stretch it, and you're like, what am I sucking cock or am I sucking puss? Regardless, it doesn't matter. Oftentimes people will go in there not prepared, and they'll end up getting little cracks on the side of their mouth because they haven't, one, hydrated. Two, they've not stretched their lips wide enough so that they can actually suck properly without getting, if you've ever got a little cut on the side of your lip, it happens sometimes in like winter times and cold times here in Canada. I've seen it happen to myself. Often, you'll go outside, you didn't put on chapstick or you didn't moisturize or you just licked your lips. You walk outside, you open your mouth to yawn or grab a bite of something, and the corner of your mouth rips over. It's like a paper cut on the side of your lips, which sucks. And the same thing, but worse, could happen if you're sucking and you've not stretched. if you've not hydrated, and if you're not mentally prepared yourself for the sucking activity, that's the most important thing. So before you go jamming cock or puss in your mouth hole, prepare yourself, stay hydrated, lubrication, moisturize. You're like, how much should I, how much lip gloss, how much chapstick do I need to apply to my dry lips? As much as possible. Don't ever go, I'd rather you have more than you have less. I'd rather have you more and not needed, but needed and not have it. That's the worst thing that I'd hate to see that happen to anybody. And I'm gonna put a fucking stop to it in 2020. We're almost 2025, baby. No more dry lips, no more cracked lips, no more people getting injuries while they're giving head or eating out box, but sucking properly. It's all about the prep work, mentally prepping yourself. So I need you to just imagine, vision, just think about it, picture it. A lot of times people are like, okay, I'm sucky. I'm gonna just, where do I, once that I found the individual that I wanted to suck off, how do I get to it? First and foremost, I must say this. I've seen people try to do this and it doesn't work. If they're just like walking up and down the street, if they're in their office, or if they're in your home, if you know them, if they're a loved one and you want to give them a proper suck job, remove the pants. Removing the pants is always helpful. Removing the underwear, the granny panties, the G-strings, the boxer briefs, the whatever is sort of under the tidy whities, the Speedos, the latex underwear, the pleather, the leather underwear. Remove it all. A lot of times I have seen people trying to suck with the underwear, with the pants still intact, and oftentimes people will just choke themselves out and end up in the emergency room, costing taxpayers money. And that's the last thing that I want to see. So remove, once you found the individual, remove the pants, remove the underwear. And you're like, okay, now do I just go to town? No, you don't just go to town for the perfect suck job. You got to prepare yourself, prepare them too. Hold them down. Strap them to something if you can. Tie down their feet and hands with something, because this is the best suck job of your lifetime. You're gonna do it properly. Now that you've tied them down, or asked them to maybe hold on to something, hold on tight. If you're not gonna tie them down, at least hold on to something. While they're holding, now I want you to begin with the tip of the cock or the tip of the clit and start sucky. Follow this technique. Everybody loves this technique. A little sucky, not the full sucky yet. Do that about 35 minutes. 35 minutes exactly. If you do it a little bit less, you fucked up, start again. If you go over, you also fucked up, start again. So a little bit of... Then, once you've done that for 35 minutes, I want you to go ahead, if you're sucking cock, now we're gonna just put the tip in the mouth. Tip is in the mouth now. The mushroom head is now fully in your mouth. You're like, what do I do now? You work the tip. And if you're working with a vag, now that you've sucked on you go ahead and suck on the labias now. And you're like, what if I'm dealing with different sorts of labias? Some are innie, some are outie, some are closed, some are wide open, some are like it's like a little mouth sticking its tongue out at me. They all come in shapes and sizes of different, variations, but that shouldn't stop. You suck on the whole thing now and do that for another 45 minutes. Now that you've done that, now that you give yourself a break, all right? Catch your breath, because now comes the fun part. Now, if you're doing the cack, now I want you to open your entire mouth, put the entire cock in your mouth, all the way in, back of the throat, hitting your neck. You should be, if you're not getting poked in the back of the neck, if it's not poking you in the back, you're not doing it right, lady. You're not doing it right, fella. And you're like, what about the vag then? How do I suck it properly? If by now, you should not be able to see lips. I don't want to see any lips right now. All the labias, the thin ones, the fat ones, the meaty ones, they should all be inside your mouth, fully covering the inner part of your mouth. You should not be able to, like, I shouldn't be able to talk to you. If I come by and ask you for, like, you know, what do you want to grab for lunch? You gotta have a mouth, you gotta go. You shouldn't be able to respond. All right. Do that for about an hour and 47 minutes exactly. Again, if you do it any less, you fucked up, start again. If you do it any more, you too have fucked up, start again. Hour 47, scientifically proven to be the right amount, ample amounts of time for you to get prepared for the next step, of course. Now, a lot of people at this point, it's roughly been 2 hours that you've been sucking, and that's when you're like, okay, well, that's enough. Well, no, that's, again, if you just want to play in the amateur leagues, if you just want to play in the, you know, if you just want to play in the sandbox and not go outside, then that's fine. But if you want to get your hands dirty, then strap on, buckle up, let's get it going. Because now is the professional, now is the level that's like, this is like fucking platinum level sucky, all right? Now I want you to grab the base of the cock, use your hands sucky, use your hands sucky, and all the cock should be in your mouth. Labia, same thing. Grab the bottom of cup the bottom of the taint of the lady that you're sucking off. Get all their juices in your mouth. You get all their juices in your hand. That's when you know you started your journey. No, you're not even finished, son. Start a journey of actually doing a proper suck job, okay? Get them to come, essentially. That's what you want them to do. Get them to come. Now, the old question is, do you swallow or do you spit? If you're a soldier, you swallow. If you're a soldier, let me just reiterate that. Let it just sink. Let that get etched in our memory, in our collective consciousness. If you are a soldier, you swallow. If you are, if you're a little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you're not dependable, then you spit it out, then you're being wasteful. And I just heard the Canadians are wasting a lot of food apparently, and I'm not saying that this is a substitute for food, but it is nourishment nonetheless. So if you're a soldier, you swallow. If you're out there just like, oh, I got it in my mouth, none of that shit. I want it down, you swallow, and it's good for you too. That vag juice, that spermage, good for your health. So now you've sucked them off once and you're like, well, is that it? Do I high five myself? Do I high five them? Do I give myself a little pat on the back? You could, but I ask you, is the job fully finished? We'll come back with that answer after a sip of this coffee. Sip of this coffee. Welcome back. If you're wondering, once that you've gotten them to come in your mouth and you've swallowed it, you're like, am I done? No. You keep repeating steps 1, 2, 3. So again, the tip, working the entire shaft, working the entire lips, getting all the juice. You want to keep doing this and you suck them off till they come 3, 4 times. 5, 6 times. You keep doing this. 7, 8, 9, 10 times. You're like, how far do I go? If we're reaching for a perfect suck job, this is what I want you to just remember this. If you're not getting bone marrow, if you have not tapped into bone marrow, you're not doing a proper suck job. Let me just reiterate that one more time for our viewers and listeners. If you've not tapped into bone marrow, then you're not doing a good job. That's just what the science says. That's what the stats say, and that's what the streets say. If you're not hitting the bone marrow, you're not what? We're not sucking hard enough. That's exactly right. If you've not hit bone marrow, you're not doing it properly. You're like, how do I get to that level? Now, I would say that practice makes perfect, but I also say, hey, sometimes we're human, all right? Sometimes we need a little bit of help. Sometimes learning to ride a bike may entail you taking a few falls and hitting your tit first on the ground and learning. Sometimes learning to send mail properly, that is, will involve you getting a few paper cuts on your lips. Sometimes a lot of things happen sometimes. The point is if you need a little bit of assistance, how to get the proper suck, I would recommend that if you've not reached bone marrow, you're not doing it right, where you're like, how do I reach bone marrow? If you suck hard enough, you'll get it. But if you can't do it on your own, there is no shame in getting a vacuum cleaner, shoving it up your ass. So that way, and then you turn the vacuum cleaner on. And once the vacuum cleaner starts sucking out your insides, you too could be able to use that same suction mechanism, because now everything's being sucked out of you. And if you lock your lips on a cock or vag, everything will be sucked out, including bone marrow. Of course, this is not the same as doing it on your own. But again, I don't want anybody to be out there thinking, well, gee golly, I've just been sucking, I've never reached bone marrow. Am I any lesser of a man, or am I lesser of a woman if I should reach for that vacuum cleaner, shove it up my ass or vag so I get the full? You're not. Is it cheating? No, it's not. It really isn't. Down the line now, like 5 years down the line, if you're still using the vacuum, unless you have some sort of like physical, if you've got some sort of disability, I'm not going to judge. But if you don't have a disability and after 5 years you're still using the vacuum to get that bone marrow out, then I'm going to say you're just not putting in enough effort. But that's still fine. That's still fine. There's no shame in anyone's game. Should you want, and I get it. You know what? Everybody's so busy. Everybody's like, you know what? I can feel the bone marrow. What are the signs that you're about to tap into bone marrow? Toes curling, but not just like regular curling all the way inwards and then back out again. Like fucking, old school, Aladdin's shoes. You want to reach for that, but then you want them to loop around like a roller coaster. If that's what you want to hear cracks in their spine. You want to just, the other methods that you could use, I would say, find some sort of industrial fan that's spinning and stand behind it and strap yourself to the fan as it's sucking you, and then you'd have your partner right in front of you, and then lock your lips on their cock and or vag, and then do the proper suck job. And that way you get, again, bone marrow. That's the entire point of this. If you've not reached bone marrow, you're not doing it right. Okay? So we're all in this together. I just don't want anybody to be out there and thinking that you're doing this on your own. You're not. Your boys got your back. The syndicate has got your back. The familia has got your back. So do it properly, and don't stop until they're bleeding from their eyeballs. Don't stop until they have been reduced to just a deflated meat bag, essentially, because once you got to the bone marrow, there'll be nothing else left. You'll know. And always have a cigarette handy for the after. Just light it up, put it in their mouth, and just walk away. So, and those are just the basics, and we will go over this again, who knows when, but in more depth, maybe. If we could, we will. So I hope this helps a little bit, of course, and if it doesn't, keep trying. It will. Don't give up. Now, let us move forward to the, this is like a little bit like precursor to the before you marry. Like, what if I want to do a little bit something to get myself warmed up before the perfect suck job? Before I get to the bone marrow, what if I want to give like a foot job? How's that? How do I get the perfect foot job? Well, I'm glad you asked. Thank you. And I'm here to help. How to give the foot job. First and foremost, practicing on yourself. First and foremost, before you go out there and give somebody a foot job, practice on yourself. Marinate your feet inside your shoes. Marinate them. Walk inside your shoes for a really long time. If you could, go for a run without socks. Make sure they are accumulating sweat. A little bit of just sweat and like a little bit of dead skin. You want that dead skin on the foot. Come home, sit down, and stick your foot in your mouth and start just sucking on your toes. And start with the pinky. Move all the way to the big boy out there, and eventually you want to be able to shove your foot inside your mouth. Eventually you want to be like ankle deep in your mouth, and then take it out and then put it back in. Take it out and then put it back in. And some people, they're like, you know what, my feet get a little bit too sweaty, and I understand that. that's completely relatable and very much a human experience. To those individuals, I say, do not be afraid of just putting your foot in your mouth whilst you still have your shoes on. A lot of people are like, do I need to remove the shoes? And foot jobs, you don't need to. You actually don't need. That's a myth that's been debunked. You don't need to remove your shoes. You can just put your into. You're like, what? I wear worker boots and they're hefty. They're even better because what? You're preparing yourself for your lover. You're preparing yourself because if you could shove a steel toe boot in your mouth all the way and heels and all, then the sky's the limit to like for what it's worth. The sky's the limit when it comes to what you're gonna be able to do with your lover's foot now. Get them in the mood, of course. And you're like, do I make them run? Make them run, make them get sweaty, make them walk around a little bit and pick up a little bit of dust. Do not wash the feet. Do not, I repeat, do not. And that's again, amateur mistake. Because then you're getting rid of all the nutrients, the flavors, whatever debris may or may not be lying around. I get them to, if you could, get them to walk around on grass, get them to walk on gravel, a little bit of dirt, just throw a little bit of dirt on the feet. And then, start again with the pinky or the heel. It really doesn't matter. The goal is to essentially have the foot inside your mouth up until the ankles, at least. And you're like, okay, that's just mouth and footwork. What about a foot job? What about like a proper foot job? But we're not talking about, your foot coming in with the, I don't want your feet to be like filing taxes. I don't want your feet. This is just like under the table stuff. I don't want your, I don't want your foot to have to go to like, I don't want them to take any courses or like, have to go sit down at like, meetings. And this is stuff that you could do on your own. If you're dealing with feet that are, going to be giving a foot job to a cock, use both feet. That always helps because doing one, if you're like a one-legged, woman and you're trying to give a foot job, that is very difficult. But there are ways. If you take the cock and just like lean it towards something hard so that holds it in place, like a drywall, like a tree, just so there's something else so that you're rubbing your feet so that it's not going anywhere because you need something to hold it still. And go ahead and just like, make sure that the cock is leaned up against something nice and firm, and then use your feet, move it up and down, use your toes, grab a hold of the cock with your feet. It doesn't look pretty, I'm not gonna lie to you, it does not look as pretty as hands, but it is different. So use both your feet unless you don't have one, in which case I would again recommend, it's not, if you have only one leg, it doesn't hurt to maybe get one of them like fake legs and grab it with your hands and just like move one real leg, but then move the other fake leg with your hands. You want to really make sure you're grabbing the cock properly. You're like, what about my ladies who love the foot jobs? Again, if you want to give them the full, full-blown experience, I would say, walk around with your shoes, don't take them off. But this is a conversation where you should have prior to the actual foot job, because a lot of people are similar to, they say this, vaginas are basically homes. They're, and some people, you go to their place, do you take your shoes off? Do you look what they've done? If they've taken off their shoes, then take your shoes off before going inside the vagina. If you see them that they've left their shoes on, maybe that's an indicator that you too could leave your shoes on and just go feet first, and just put your feet inside the vagina all the way up until the ankle. Wiggle it around up in there, just like tap it around, swirl it, put your feet inside the vagina, and then get on your hands and knees and do like a 360 spinaroo. And that should really, those are basically, again, I just want everybody to be comfortable. I just want everybody to, if you've not tried this, try it. Please use ample amounts of lube, and I don't want anybody getting stuck in these positions. I hate to see that. But again, you're not gonna, it doesn't hurt to get stuck either. I myself have been stuck plenty of times, and 24 to 48 hours being stuck in a vagina with your foot is, you know, that's just a learning experience. That's something you come out of and you feel like, man, I really learned a lot, and I think I know myself and the female anatomy better, and I really, you know, these stripes are now earned. You could say that to yourself. You could say that to yourself. So try them all out. If you don't have any feet, if you don't have legs, if you don't have any feet, well, then this is not the sport for you, sir, ma'am. I'm just, you know, I'm just gonna say it, and the truth hurts sometimes. But it shouldn't stop you from grabbing shoes and just shoving shoes up someone's vagina. It should, just because you don't have feet does not mean that you can't work with, you know, shoes and you've got hands. So make it work. Don't make excuses. And again, practice makes perfect. Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's of course closer to the end of the year, and there's been so many changes in everybody's lives, and we're advancing in one way or another every day. But one thing that's remained the same, I see it on the streets, I see it in our daily lives, and I just like to say, isn't it high time that we change this shit around a little bit? Are you tired of your dogs taking a crap on the sidewalk or the grass, someone's lawn? Or you're out in the woods taking a walk and your dog takes a shit, and then now you gotta get up and grab a bag and pick up after them? Ever since the dawn of time, ever since the dawn of humanity, really, from the inception of mankind, humans and doggos and humans, best of friends. But I do tend to see it's a little bit lopsided. It's a little bit one-sided, if you will, because somebody's taking a shit, somebody else is picking it up, and it's been hundreds of thousands of years, if not longer, that this relationship has been them taking the shits, us grabbing the bags and wrapping it up and carrying it around. I say, you know what? I think we've picked up enough dog shit. I think it's time to turn the tables around and just be a little bit reciprocal. Next time you go for a walk, before your dog gets a chance to take a shit, you get down on your knees and just squat or whatever, however you're comfortable, but take a shit. Hand a plastic bag to your dog and do not move until he or she grabs that plastic bag, puts your shit in the plastic bag, takes a walk to the local garbage can or wherever it is and dumps it in the garbage can, and then walk away. Should you be at home and get the sudden urge, somebody's knocking on your asshole, who is it? It's the shits. Go ahead and take a shit, but you know, don't flush it. Get your dog, whistle, hey, get over here. Hand them a bag, let them pick it up, and then dump it from they've now put the shit in the bag, but get them to dump it once they put it in the bag, dump it in the toilet once again, and have them flush it, just so they know what it feels like to, you know, be a little bit more responsible. Because again, man's best friend, they say that, but I've not, you know, it's just a little bit, if we're talking about, hey, doing your share around here. If you've got a bidet at home, instead of you pressing the button or turning on the knob or what, I don't have a bidet, I don't know how they work. I don't know if it's a button or if it's like activated via voice command. I don't know if it's like motion sensor or lasers. It's high-tech laser shit, isn't it? You fucking bidet sons and daughters of bitches out there. Whoever, good for you. I'm proud of you. But don't operate the bidet yourself. Get your dog, train your dog. Tell them, hey, hit that bidet button. Get that water on my taint. Say it and give them a treat after. Because you know, they're dogs. At the end of the day, you don't want it to just be like, oh, this is work. You want to have fun. You want to have fun with it. But and last but not least, I'll say, train them to wipe your ass too. Train them to wipe your ass. If a dog by now, which is again almost 2025, if a dog can't roll up some TP and wipe your ass, I'm not saying they should do the best job, I'm not even saying they should clean it all the way up, but a little bit of, you know what I mean, just for all the hundreds of thousands of years humans picking up after dogs, by now we should have a little bit of higher standards. By now these pets of ours, because we're evolving, we're getting better, we're going through all sorts of training to do things better and advancing. Are with these guys, they're cute as fuck. Oh, make your heart melt. But at the end of the day, I just want to see them doing a little bit more, you know? So if you're a dog whisperer out there, start sending out this message that the human species has had enough. it's over. It's gonna continue, but you know, a little bit more wouldn't hurt anyone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you. Let's get it going, because it's, after all, it is Wednesday. And I'll say this, you know, I read this article, and I found it interesting. I just want to share it with you guys. Now this one's a little bit, I don't know how I feel about it, but we'll get through it together. It depicted that in the UK they wanna pass a law banning hitting your children, because apparently Scotland has done that, and there's been research on this, that hitting children it's not beneficial. It actually quote unquote harms the children, apparently, and it's not cool to hit your children. They said that, and you know, more or less they said, you know, that was kind of like the focal point was like, don't hit your children. Because I believe there was a child in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, I forget their name, rest in peace, but they got smacked and they ended up dying. So that is frowned upon. But then I thought to myself, okay, this is for humanity, into like, for a long time, for a really long time, adults, fathers and mothers, and sometimes grandparents, or maybe aunts, uncle, they used to be able to hit their children, or even like neighbors, like, again, depending on how far back you go, hitting children was a norm. Only recently, over the past few decades, maybe we've evolved, maybe, you know, and again, country by country, you know, region to region, culture by culture, everybody does it differently. But as we've all together advanced, we were realizing that apparently it's no bueno to hit your children. And that's when I thought to myself, okay, fine, but what if you still want to hit your children? How could you hit your children in modernity, when it's frowned upon to hit your children? And I thought to myself, well, okay, maybe you can't directly hit your children yourself. Maybe that's frowned upon. Maybe you can't give them like a little, just one of these, but it doesn't mean that you can't allocate the hitting to other realms in society. For instance, if your kid does something that just gets on your nerves, you know, in the not so distant past, you'd be able to smack them, or, you know, give them a little paddling, or a little, I don't know, whatever. And now you can't. But I would say, instead of reacting in the moment, play it cool, play it coy, just be chill, but then maybe sign them up for some sort of, you know, physical activity where you can allocate the hitting to others, i.e. maybe children their own age. I would highly recommend, if you are just like, oh, I can't hit this little bugger now because of all the, you know, society and like us learning and CCTV and child protection services and just overall maybe doing the right thing, whatever, you know. So you can't, there's just too much pressure in modernity for parents, but it doesn't mean that you can't have fun with it. Sign your kids up for some sort of karate class, or MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, whatever, extreme ballet, you know what I'm talking about, Russian style shit, you know. And just watch as kids play. At one point or another, especially if it's like an MMA sport activity, there's going to be one kid that's going to be slightly better than your kid. Maybe they're a little bit bigger. And once they go for the karate, chop to the neck for your kid, that's when you could kind of rejoice and be like, yes. And you won't get into, so, you know, nobody's going to be like, oh man, that's a bad parent. They'll actually kind of encourage it. They'll be like, good. And, you know, maybe cheer on, then maybe cheer, yes, Johnny, and somebody will be like, isn't Nick your child? And you're like, yes, but I'm also a supporting parent of, I support all the children. Nick is my son, but Johnny over there did great, and that's, you know, everybody should. So maybe do that. In terms of, you know, I would say hitting your children is probably, you know, again, it's difficult these days in modernity, but maybe write it down every time you get a urge to want to just like, oh, I wish I could just whatevs, write it down. Once they're adults, once they're past the age of 18, now you're just two adults, and there's no, you know, it's not frowned upon to hit adults, like in a, you know, like, you know what I'm talking about, like if it's just adult on, if as soon as they turn 18, you want to be able to just bring up a notebook and be like, September 3rd, 2003, whatever, just 2021, when I was out, trying to get the groceries, you were completely making a mess and you spilled a drink or whatever, just write all of it down, You burned the house on a Christmas of 90, whatever, write it down. And then, and then take them out and be like, hey, you know what, son? Yeah, hey, you know what, daughter? Maybe it's time we go and sign up for a daddy-daughter, daddy-son boxing class. And by then you should hopefully be somewhere in your late 30s, early 40s, and early 40s, early 20s. That's just basically two adults going at it. And put on boxing gloves and beat the shit out of your adult child. Beat them to a pulp. Bleed. Watch them bleed because they made you want to, they got you agitated for whatever, but but they're adults now, so it's okay. Other instances where you could, but then at the end of the day, this only works for people who have children with, it's a limited time that you could do this, because if you get too old, then the tables will have turned, and you don't want to go in a ring at like 60 with like a 20-something-year-old. That's a little bit sus. Depending on the physiology, of course, there's, everybody's different. If you feel like I've been juicing for 40 ever since I had a child, I've been sucking on elephants' penises and getting that elephant tea in me, and now you're just jacked like an elephant, you're like a gorilla just waiting to pounce. So now you're in your 60s, you've just been fucking doing chin-ups in your garage. Now your kid's like 20-something, and again, bring the list and just show it to them. Put them in a boxing ring and just go to town. Just go to town. These are some ideas that I had to help parents in modernity, should you, because it's, the results are in. Apparently it does more harm than good. Lame. The point is, there's always a loop around. There's always, or other martial arts or other sports. If you put them in a football, it's just full contact football. Or take them to Thailand, let them just get their ass kicked in some Muay Thai class and just fucking be out there sipping on Gatorade, which is not Gatorade down there. God knows what it is. It's probably just like a little bit of just, cock serum to get you hard. You're sipping on, it's the rainforest and you're sipping on cock serum, dude. You're hard and your kid's getting their ass kicked by some 5'2" Muay Thai master who's been Muay Thaiing in her since he was in his mother's womb. Muay Thai his way out, actually. Muay Thai the doctor on his way out too. So get your kid involved with that Muay Thai kid. And yeah, those are some ways in modernity where you can, allocate the hitting to some other individual and not get blamed for it. And your kids might learn a few things. Just putting out ideas there. You're welcome, helping parents all around the globe, one step at a time. Heliospect, ladies and gentlemen, Heliospect. I was reading this as well. It's a company, it's a US-based company. Very similar to CRISPR. These bad boys and bad gals get you to choose the embryo. If you're doing that in vitro fertilization, son, if you're taking the fucking sperm and the egg outside of the body and you're selecting it, doing that gene editing, gene therapy shit, because you can, for whatever reason, you're like, I want to have a designer baby. This is becoming another thing that we're doing, because we're evolving, we're getting better, we're becoming selective. That's why, going back, that's why I want our dogs to be a little bit more evolved too, because humans are. Whether it's just through you eyeing out people, finding out the best mate, just using your visuals, you're like, who's got the right body for me? Who's gonna give me giant smart babies? Because that's basically what you want to be doing. Giant smart babies. Giant smart fast twitch babies. Babies of the future. You want to be doing that shit, but Heliospect is doing this, and it's a company that now offers this procedure. You can select the embryos that are prone to give you a little bit more advantage in terms of having the embryos with, a little bit of propensity for higher IQs and also height. These are the two options that it's not much and it's not like 100%, and it's still very difficult. It's not like, IVF is not one of those things that's like, I've been reading a little bit into it. I'm not fully informed, of course, but it doesn't work 100% of the times. It's costly, and it's it's at the it's just at the stages where it's just beginning right now, but this will propel and go further and further into the future. 10, 20, 50 years down the line, you're going to have options into, again, using technology like CRISPR, gene edit your baby, or Heliospect or other companies which I'm sure are going to be coming around and saying, you know what, do you want a dumb baby, do you want a trad baby, or do you want a smart gene edited baby? And you have that option, which is pretty cool, but also leaves me a little bit just like, oh man, is it gonna be, you know, when will people stop? When will people, because are we now playing the God, aliens, nature? Are we playing that role? Because at one point you had a baby with a rando who you fell in love with, of course, through whatever circumstances. And you had a baby and it came out the way it was and you didn't know, and whatever you got is whatever you got. And that was called a blessing in sorts of ways, which was at times deemed as kind of like, you know, you got your hands full with that one. But down the line, at one point it might pay off that they're actually a decent offspring. And that was a roll of the dice. And it was just humanity having trust in itself and saying, you know what, we're going to take the good with the bad, and that's humanity, helping each other out and just acceptance and peace and love and jizz for everyone. We said that at one point. It's been written in stone. It's been etched on you can read it in hieroglyphs on pyramids all across the globe. Peace, love, and jizz. That's what it says if you do the proper translation, that is. But nonetheless, now you can do gene editing. You can get smarter and taller babies, smart, tall babies. No more of these short, dumb babies, just extremely tall and smart babies. Are there downsides to this? Apparently they did this study with chickens where they went with, like, they did the IVF and they selected the embryos that was going to give you better chickens. And the chickens came out with higher intelligence, and even they're taller chickens, they're tall chickens, they call them. And the downside to this was because they were more intelligent and taller, they got a little bit aggro. And then they apparently went to town and they pecked at each other and they killed each other. They pecked each other to death because they were just, all of them were kind of like supreme fucking, you know, tall, smart babies, which led to a lot of aggression apparently. Tall, smart babies, aggro apparently. So there's a downside, but that's just chickens. I don't know how it's going to play out in the future. Maybe our tall, smart children in the future will be like, maybe they won't be like the chickens. Maybe they won't go to town and peck the shit out of each other and kill each other. Maybe they will. And in which case I say it still all works out, because if the tall genetic designer babies go to, if there's like a, you know, down the line, I'm talking like, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, and you're sending your kids to school with other regular kids or other maybe gene edited babies. Do you want your kid to be a gene edited baby or just a regular dumb baby sitting in the back, just minding its own business, staring outside the window, looking at birds chirping on a tree? Do you want that baby, or do you want the baby that's extremely tall and can solve mathematics at a very young age? Do you want that? Because that baby's gonna go to the CEO position of the company, and they're gonna have to remodel the entire fucking first, second, and third floor of the company, because he or she may be extremely tall and very, you know, and extremely bright with high IQ and shit. Maybe lacking a little bit of EQ, but that high IQ shit will be really good. And so yeah, now you got the decision. Do you want a dumb baby, dumb short baby, or a tall smart baby? And if other parents are investing in their tall smart babies, is it going to be frowned upon to that? Will reg babies be frowned upon? Will people have this conversation down the line when they're full-grown adults sitting at a coffee shop dating somewhere, if that's still even happening? I don't know. Will they have a conversation? I need to know right now, are you a reg baby? Are you a reg full-grown baby? Or are you gene-edited baby? Because I'm a designer baby, and I only date designer babies. Designer babies flock to designer babies that come together, go together. Designer babies that jizz together, you know, come together. Designer babies that, so that's going to become a whole, but we already do this. You obviously look in life and find you're selective about your mate. So is it any different than us just eyeballing shit? Or is this just next level going to, you know what, eyeballing's been nice. That hip to waist ratio shit really does tend to work out for the most part. But if I can get a little bit scientific in here and zap a baby embryo and make sure it comes out a little bit taller, faster, stronger, maybe I'll do that. Or The downside of this, of course, is that you invest all that time, money, and energy, and your baby does become extremely tall, like 7'11", with like 230 IQ. And there's a whole, there's a whole army of these mad giant babies who are extremely smart. Maybe they'll go to town and maybe they'll be like the chickens. Maybe they'll peck at each other until maybe they'll make each other go blind. Maybe they'll break each other's limbs because they're so tall and aggro. In which case, if you have not invested in these designer babies, then your baby who was just outside, kind of going around in circles, then that baby will inevitably end up on the, your baby's gonna be on top in terms of like if there was a food chain, your baby will be on top. It may take some time. There's gonna be probably a sequence of events that'll unravel where it's like, let's get rid of people with disabilities because they're holding us back. So they'll do that. They might do these designer babies in the future. Might be like, well, you know what? It's only a certain whatever. It's only these types of babies get to go to the moon, go to the Mars and the Jupiter. Not one of these lame, regular-sized babies with just average intelligence. Those babies are gonna be left. But then again, whatever. Because those intelligent, tall babies will get to the destination and they'll kill each other, man. So if you're not investing in your babies today, don't worry about it. And also, if you're investing in your designer babies, kudos to you. We'll see who has the whatever. We'll see. We'll see. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that it's just one of those. It's life right now. We're doing it. That's what it is. It's crazy town. Designer babies. Then if you're. It's a whole thing. I don't know. Would I get a designer baby? I mean, if it becomes the norm, if everybody's doing it, if everybody's getting designer babies, then I might opt for it as well. But at this rate, I don't even want a baby. Not anytime soon, at least, anyway. So it's one of those things to think about. Will you opt for gene-edited babies? Will you get like a baby with multicolored eyes? Because you could do that. You could get like one eye is green and one eye is red. Have like a creepy looking baby. Could get them to be like, could do half black, half white babies. Half black, half white babies. We'd be down the center, half black, half white babies. If your wife is black, you're white, or reverses, half black, half, you could do that. Not now. Now it's just like a couple of inches here, a couple of scores in the IQ test or whatever. But down the line, you'll be able to go exactly down the center and like, half black, half white. Give them whatever, or you got a little bit of like Asian in you, give them Asian hair, half black, half white Asian baby, half black, half white Asian South American European baby. Maybe their legs are like black, their torso is white, their arms are Asian, their head is like European, their hair is a mixed, I don't know, but we can do all of this and we'll be like, man, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I feel good, relaxed about this. And I think we're taking the right steps. And yeah, we'll get rid of diseases too. We'll come up with new ones. Don't worry. We will for sure come up with new ones. I was just thinking that ladies are not taking advantage of their tits as much as they should be, because I tend to, when I'm by myself, at least I tend to sometimes just sit around and ponder upon the many things. And sometimes I'll notice I'll do this, or I'll be sitting and I'll just like grab my chin or like play a little bit with my beard and whatever face, and I'll do that. And I notice women have tits, breaking news, and they don't hold on to them. They don't cup the tit as much as one. If I had tits, if I even had one, if I just had one, every time I'd want to think, I'd grab a tit like I'm grabbing a hefty beard. That's just because some men you've seen, they grab the beard and go like, and it helps with thinking, I think. But you don't see women grabbing it, because like men have been trained to notice the tit, but like pretend it's not there. And most of the time we do fail. But it's a lot of training goes into humanity. Bringing up humanity, you got to tell the men to, hey, make eye contact. Eyes are up here. And you're like, then why are tits way better than eyes then? Is what men would say. But nonetheless, and there's still not a good enough answer. Because Because a chick could be blind, but she's got a knockout set of knockers. Does it even matter? Good. She can't see my ugly mug, but I can see her tits. That works. But you don't see women, but they, like, men have been trained to a certain degree, you know, and oftentimes they do fail. We do fail. It's difficult to not look at tits. But nonetheless, we try or not. We don't, like, look, but like it's like looking at the sun. The same, we get that same trend. Like, look, but like don't stare. Like, get a good glimpse. Like, pretend, oh yeah, it's whatever. I'm just, and then just look away. Don't stare. But women too have also been trained to pretend as if it's not there. They don't even they don't touch their own tits as much. Like, again, if I had a tit, I would, every time I went out into like a thinking, you know, if I were like walking down the street, I'd just be grabbing a tit and just like, I'm walking and I'm just thinking. I'd scratch a tit and think. I just hold a tit, I just cup a tit. What I do, I'd cup a tit. You know, you don't see too many women just cupping a tit. I'd cup 2 tits if I were a woman and if I were just thinking about anything, I'd cup a tit all day, every day. I'd just be walking around like this. Just tits, cupping tits, just being a lady. These tits need to be cupped. I'd do that. But I don't have tits, but I'm just saying, I think there's been a lot of, because women too have to, because they're like one of those, like the body, male, female, diff, but the tits do kind of like, they stand out. They're right, they're external, they're internal, but they're part of your body, but they stick out, right? And you're just supposed to pretend they're not knocking into things. You're just supposed to pretend like it's, don't worry about these things. They're just, everything else is more or less flat, but these tits, don't mind these tits. These are just for show, but you can't look. Don't look, but don't stare. Don't look, but don't touch. But also, but like ladies though, for themselves, they should be able to. I'm just saying, and maybe I've not noticed it because I don't stare, but maybe you should. I'm just saying, maybe you should cup a couple of tits, ladies. If you're thinking out there and you're like, man, I wish, because you'd never get to experience what it feels like to, you know, stroke your beard or face, and you could stroke your face, but of course you'd never be able to stroke your beard and give something a good, you know, just think something's over. But you could always cup a tit. You could just cup a tit and think about many of things, you know, Diet Coke or regular Coke, you know, just whatever, life decisions, you know, Helios up baby or reg baby, you know, it's just whatever. So it's just one of those things to think about. Cup a tit is what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it's in the news. You've heard of it. I've heard of it in the past couple of months. It's becoming more, you know, it's becoming a thing in society. People have always been experimenting with substances, and we're now in the age of creating substances, you know, aka drugs. People consume these drugs, and it's becoming a popular one is now called pink cocaine. Pink cocaine is now in the market, and trad coke has always been in the market for a long time. It's been in the market. Trad coke versus pink cocaine. And I just wanted to come out here and say, if you're wondering which one should I be pushing right now, which one should I, if you're like thinking about pushing produce, weight, if you're like wondering, do I go with white cocaine or pink cocaine, aka Tusi? They call it Tusi on the streets. They call that shit Tusi. And you're like, which one do I push? Trad coke or pink coke? What even is pink coke? I briefly looked into it. It's like a mixture. It's barely even any cocaine in it. It's like ketamine, meth, ecstasy, benzos, a little bit of food coloring, and it's everything essentially. It's a little bit of like alligator tears, and at times like the dosages are, I don't know too much to be honest with you. But if you're just like I want to be pushing, or I'm already in the pushing of the produce game, which do I go with, trad coke or pink coke? Which is, I'll say this, I'm not into fads. Speaking from like just from a pusher perspective, because certain things come and go. You know, pink cocaine may be interesting right now, but it's but look at what's worked for a really long time. And I'm not advocating anything, I'm just saying from a business perspective, just from a pusher perspective, if you're gonna push one or the other, You're like, which one, you know, if I gotta like take over a corner and push produce, which one do I push? For me, the whole designer, the whole like, you know, I get it. It's like, there are, of course, you know, there's pros to it. It's probably more appealing to the youth because of its color pink, because of its cool little nickname, Tusi. What even, give me that too. That's gonna, you know, could it be the next lean in rap music? I'm on that Tusi shit, son. I'm tripping all days or whatever. You know, it could be, I'm on my Tusi shit now. I'm just, you know, whatever. So it could be one of those things that gets, you know, a little bit more attention than it deserves. But I say what has worked in the past will always work in the future. But sometimes things change, markets change. I say take a look at the market. What are the people asking for? What do the people want? And look inside yourself and ask yourself, what kind of pusher am I going to be? Am I going to be a trad cocaine pusher? We could look at, you could be like, generationally, my father pushed the cane, my grandpappy pushed the cane, and I want to push cane. You'll say that. Or you might be like, you know what, my father pushed cane, my grandpappy pushed cane, my unks pushed cane. I want to do things different. I want to switch the game around, turn it upside down, flip it on its head. I want to do something. I want to be a trailblazer. I want to be my own man or woman. You'll say that. Then in that case, go for pink cocaine or Tusi, you know? Am I gonna be, you know, is this gonna be a product that lasts? Or is it just a fad? Is it just a phase? Is it one of those things that, oh, you're gonna try this? And people die from all these things because of course, like external ingredients that gets put into them. Them by themselves are probably not the best thing. But I'm just saying, just from a business perspective, I'm not advocating, but just from looking out for my pushers out there, for my business mindset folks out there who are trying to do business and just try and provide for their families. You're like, which product do I? Again, the one with the color, the one with the nickname will probably get a little bit more, right now it might be trendy. You might want to push that. Or you might be like looking at something that is, you know, the proof is in the cane. They say that the proof is in the cane. So you could go with traditional or new age. All are very dangerous, of course. You know, we don't condone anything, but again, looking at it through a perspective of like business, which one, you know, because I don't know how pink cocaine's gonna, like, I don't know if it's gonna stick around for like decade after decade, because like cocaine's been there, man. Like monarchs have used it, scientists have used it, abused it, used it, whichever, you know, they've partaken. Women, high profile women in secrecy have used it to ease the pain of monthly bleedage sessions, aka maybe some queens. I'm not gonna name names because I don't really know, but like, you know, you hear things, you read things, and you're like, wow. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, as a pusher, there's the evidence of what works, clean, pure cocaine, and from you know, that pure, no cutting with like external ingredients. That should be your bread and butter. If you want to go out there and explore new realms, you know, I respect that too. I get it, but there's, you know, evidence for what works, and then there is, you know, being a gambler, taking risks, venturing out and trying to build an empire on a new product without, you know. So it's up to you. I'm not gonna say which one you should. I'm gonna, you know, I stick with 5, you know. For me personally, if I were to push, I go with trad coke. I push trad because again, the record speaks for itself. But we'll see how this all unfolds, and you know, do your own research. That's what I do. Your own research. I believe it was brought to my attention through reading another article that apparently in Japan, because I'm a half black, half Japanese man myself, so this relates. I believe in Japan there's a culture of, you know, it's difficult for people to quit their jobs, is what it is in Japan, apparently, from what I've read. And you're like, shouldn't you know, being a half Jamaican, half Japanese? When you shut your mouth and start, you know, questioning my makeup. The point is, as a half Jamaican, half Japanese person, I read this article and it just dawned on me that, man, my Japanese friends are having a difficult time quitting their jobs because apparently there's a culture in Japan where, like, if you get a job, it's just different. Every culture does things differently, but some people might get a job and it becomes difficult for them to quit their job and go find another job or get, whatever, due to different cultural reasons, some might say. There's a little bit of pressure. So these workers, thousands of workers reaching out to these companies, these middlemen who take it upon themselves to quit your job for you, which is, I get it, but at the same rate, I wanted to just provide you with something that you might be able to use by yourself if you're either Japanese or just happen to be a person in the workforce anywhere in the world, really, because we are a global syndicate. If you want to quit a job and your boss is not letting you go, maybe there's a little bit of maybe there's intimidation tactics, maybe there's a little bit of oh, you gotta read the contract or whatever. But jobs shouldn't be, especially more and more that we've experienced so many things, we've learned so many things. I do believe people should, especially when you're starting out in the workforce. I'm not saying quit I'm not saying just willy-nilly quit, but if you want to get a feel for the job, you get the job, you work for a little bit, and then you want to okay, this is not the thing that I thought it was. But you're having a difficult time. I'm not, saying that you should be quitters out there. No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, in the case that you do want to quit a job, for whatever odd reason, you find it difficult to quit, whether it's the culture, whether it's pressure from whatever, and you don't know how to do this, and you find yourself having to resort to middlemen out there, making phone calls and sending emails to quit for you. I say take it upon yourself, because it is something that you need to learn. I'll say this, you could quit a job by, first and foremost, just be direct, and honesty is the best policy with everything in life. Honesty is just tell your boss that you want to quit. If they, for whatever reason, don't want to let you go, then here's some alternate ways of going about making sure that you essentially get removed from that position. So we'll go through these. Show up to work fully naked. Show up to work fully naked and get sent home. And they'll tell you, hey, why are you fully naked at work? You can't be fully naked. They'll send you home on the first day. Come back tomorrow fully naked, butt naked, just fully, just ass out, cheeks. Just go into the meeting, just start grinding your clit on the side of the boardroom table. Just put your clit over the edge of the table and just grind on, just start grinding on top of it. If you're a male, just rest your cock on the table. You'll notice if you're a male, I don't know if it's just one of those serendipitous things that has happened. Maybe our ancestors knew something, but all tables are essentially genital height, so you could just rest your nuts on the table. That'll get you sent home and come back tomorrow and repeat it until necessary, of course. Other items that you could, other things you could do to make sure that you get fired, at least if they're not letting you quit. Don't do the work. Literally show up and don't do the work. Or just don't show up. Just don't show up. That's another thing. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't. Just not showing up will ensure you will, because most people can't afford to just have people not show up for more than a certain period of time, depending on the company or whatever. But you don't show up long enough, they'll end it. It's over. Sit on your boss's face. Just get in there, nutsack and all. Sit on your boss's face. If you're a hot lady, that'll probably actually make them want to hold on to you for a little bit longer. But if you're a fella, almost guaranteed, if you park your nuts in your boss's face, you will most likely get fired. You'll probably get sent home at least. Times have changed. They might take a liking to you. You might have to stay a little bit longer now. But so take a shit in the middle of a meeting. Take a shit right in the middle of the meeting. Just if it's a merger, big meeting, you're not even in the meeting. You're still You just started, you're literally like 3 months in the company, you're not even invited to the big meetings yet. Barge in on a big meeting, take a dump right there. Just take a huge steamy shit in the middle of the room. Guaranteed you'll get sent home at least. Kidnap your bosses. Kidnap your bosses when they're leaving in the evening. They're going into the garage to hop in their convertible BMW or whatever. Just kidnap them. Just kidnap them. It's very simple. Take them for a joyride. Just act erratic in the car and then show up tomorrow, pretend nothing happened. Let's say they've got like maybe your boss is in his 50s or she's in her 50s or 60s and they got a daughter or son in your age range. Maybe you're in your 20s or 30s and they too have got a son or daughter who's in their 20s or 30s or whatever. Start a relationship with them. Start a relationship, ruin their life. Start a relationship with their kids. Get them pregnant. I don't care. Get them pregnant. Get them pregnant and just be like, whatever. Get them pregnant. Other things you could do: eat a lot in front of your body. Just eat every time they come and check on you. Just instead of working, just be eating. If you're stuffing your face with food, like I'm talking a lot of food, like. Bring a giant turkey to work. Lots of just keep dipping it in gravy and just slap it around your mouth and just deep throat that turkey leg. And they'll tell you, hey, get back to work. Then don't. Clip your toenails when you're sitting at your desk. Clip your toenails. If you're a lady, you're on your period, I wouldn't even wear my pads. If I wanted to get fired, if I wanted to leave, just don't wear a pad and bleed all over the furniture. Walk into the building and just bleed all over the place. Just free bleed all over the place. You might get sent home once, but keep doing that 2-3 times. You'll eventually be let go of. What else could you do? You could just, if your boss is taking a dump in the office building's bathroom or like whatever, go open the door, take a selfie with them and post it on social media. Guaranteed you'll be fired. What else could you do? You could literally, if they're not letting you go, these are of course, like if they're just, if they'll let you go, don't do any of these. But if they're not letting you go, injure yourself at work. Take a hammer, just smash it across your own face. Start bleeding all over, and then walk in and out and just bleed all over the place. That'll probably do it. Fuck your boss. Just get pregnant by your boss. There you go. Get pregnant by your boss, and you have literally got them by the balls. If it's a female, that's a little bit different. It's a little bit more. That one's a little bit more difficult. We do still live in, we want equality, but I'm just saying, get your boss pregnant either way. And these are just some ways that you could leave your job and go, because like you want to start something new. I get it. And so I thought not only could my Japanese friends use this, but this is essentially because we are a global show that reaches all across the globe. This is something that impacts everybody. If you're having a difficult job leaving your work, well, then these are just some tips. Use them accordingly, use them to your own accord, and use your own discretion. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, where can you find these videos? On Instagram, on YouTube, on patreon.com/RobSadri. Check out the show, support it if you like. It is a one-man operation and we're just taking it one day at a time. Until next time, which is Friday. Peace out. Get out of here.